How's it going, everyone? Bass here. Man, what an awful game yesterday. Week 6 versus the New York Jets. Green Bay loses 27-10 in Lambeau. Pretty much every aspect of that game was awful. The offense, the defense, the special teams, and something is deeply wrong with this team. I don't know what needs to be changed exactly, but the offense looked horrible. The defense did have some flashes. Special teams looked awful as well. Blocked field goal, blocked punt for a touchdown. Overall, just a very, very awful game. But nonetheless, it is Monday, so you know what that means. Let's go over all the PFF grades for the offense, defense, and break them down. So for today's video, I'm going to start with the defense. And as I said, they did show some flashes. They did look like they adjusted a little bit. Last week, Joe Barry was asked about the defense playing back off coverage, soft coverage. He said, it's going to change going forward. And we did see flashes of that. We saw Jaire Alexander play some slot snaps. We saw these cornerbacks pressing the wide receivers, manning up the wide receivers. And although the defense allowed 20 points, it was definitely the best aspect of this team yesterday. It was a lot better than the offense and the special teams, to say the least, but obviously still letting up 20 points. But the Jets really didn't do much on offense. I mean, they were 1 for 11 on third down, 99 net passing yards, 0 for 2 in the red zone. But overall, the defense didn't do that awful, in my opinion. Zach Wilson, like I said, didn't have a good game. They did run really well, especially at the end there in that game to finish it out, but a lot better than the offense. So that's why we're going to start with the defense today. So let's bring up the screen here. And at the top, we have Kingsley Enagbare as the highest graded player on the Packers defense, albeit only 11 snaps. And with Tipanaliai getting placed on IR this week, I thought we'd see more snaps from Enagbare, but only got 11, but a 90.5 grade, 1 pressure, 1 sack. Really like what I've saw from him so far. Really like the pick in the 5th round there. In my opinion, it was like a really nice pick. I thought it would be a draft steal, and it is looking like that. And I think he will be the future at edge outside Rashawn Gary once Preston Smith retires or moves on or whatnot from the Packers. Really like what I've seen from him so far. I want him to get more snaps. Adrian Amos, 73.8. He had a really good game, 83.8 tackle grade. They were starting to use him in ways they should have been using him, throwing him into the box, allowing him to pressure. As we see, he has 1 pressure here, allowing him to blitz, just help defend the run in the box, using him like they used to in years past. And that's what I liked from yesterday's game. If I were to take one thing out from it, is the defense started to adjust. They were trending in the right direction, in my opinion. And I think, obviously, they have to build off of that. It definitely was not perfect. But I liked what I saw for the most part. Dean Lowry, a 73.1. Preston Smith, a 71.3. Kenny Clark, 69.8. Jaire, 66.0. Darnell Savage, 64.2. Rudy Ford, 63.4, only 4 snaps. Devontae Wyatt came back from that quads injury, only had 7 snaps, a 61.7 there. Jerron Reed, 60.2. Devondre Campbell, 59.7. John Garvin, 66.6. Rashawn Gary, a 56.2. Don't understand that grade. 3 pressures, 1 sack. I feel like this dude is always getting pressures and sacks, yet we'll have like a below 60 grade. Makes no sense to me. I guess his tackle grade, 28.2. He must have missed some tackles there. Yeah, and 2 missed tackles. Rasul Douglas, a 55.9. Quay Walker, a 45.9. Eric Stokes, a 42.4. And TJ Slayton, a 33.6. And then going into depth on the coverage stats, we see Jaire Alexander allowed 3 receptions on 7 targets for 31 yards. Really liked what I saw from him in terms of what they were allowing him to do. Moved him into the slot. I think it was only 7 snaps in the slot, but hey, it's better than nothing what they've been doing. Pretty much matching him on Garrett Wilson, pretty much every third down. And we see Garrett Wilson, 0 receptions, 4 targets. Jaire locked him up when he was manning him up. They allowed Jaire to be Jaire. Press a guy, man him up, and lock him down. And they only allowed 3 receptions on 7 targets. So I thought he played really well. 1 reception for Corey Davis. Uzoma had 1, and Barrios had 1 on him as well. Then we go to Rasul Douglas, only allowed 2 receptions on 2 targets for 8 yards, both to running backs Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Darnell Savage only allowed 1 reception on 2 targets, 1 to Garrett Wilson for 8 yards. Eric Stokes, 2 receptions on 2 targets, but 57 yards. Obviously, that 1 deep ball to Corey Davis, the out and up on a bootleg, and Eric Stokes really bit on that out. And Corey Davis, really nice ran route as well. But, Eric Stokes did not track that well at all. Corey Davis pretty much had to stop and come back to the ball. I think Eric Stokes had a chance at it if he just turned his head around. That's kind of been a problem with Eric Stokes these past 2 years. He seems like he doesn't turn his head around in situations where he should. So Eric Stokes, not a great game there. And then 1 reception to Tyler Conklin. Quay Walker, no receptions allowed. So I think They actually took him out in a lot of these nickel and dime packages, whereas the past 5 weeks he'd be out there, and that's where he allowed the receptions across the middle. So they did a good job, dropping Adrian Amos into the box, Darnell Savage, allowing Rudy Ford to play deep, basically giving themselves a better advantage on passing downs with another defensive back. So I'm glad we saw that adjustment as well. Adrian Amos, 1 reception, 1 target for 3 yards on a tight end, CJ Uzoma, so good there. Devondre Campbell only allowed 1 reception on 1 target for 3 yards to Breece Hall. So overall, I thought the defensive backs played well. And I feel like there is a lot of hate going around right now for the Packers defense, which, yes, they allowed 20 points to the Jets. I get that. They were really tired at the end. The offense were giving them absolutely no help. Pretty much kept throwing them back on the field right after drive after drive, quick, 3 and out, whatever it may be by the Packers, or a turnover or whatever it may be. So I liked what I saw from the beginning of the game. Like I said, the Jets really didn't do much. Like, Zach Wilson had a bad game, in my opinion. They ran the ball well at the end and finished out that game, but the defense was tired at that point. I like the direction they're going. And as I said earlier, it's not perfect, but they're starting to make adjustments. They need to make more and make them on the fly when the game's going on, and they need to be able to stop the run, which they have yet to do yet. But the passing defense looked a lot better yesterday, and the ability for them to make adjustments with, Jair in the slot, dropping a safety, running press mans, things like that. So I'm hoping that continues and they build off of that. All right, so now moving on to the offense, and this offense, probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen by a Packers offense in the Aaron Rodgers era. This was an awful game, and it seemed like everything that would go wrong did go wrong with this offense. The running game wasn't really working. The passing game definitely wasn't working. And the blocking was absolutely atrocious on all levels, on special teams and on offense. The blocking was absolutely awful. The run game never really worked, and they only gave Aaron Jones 4 touches in the first half. Matt LaFleur keeps saying, it's not okay that Aaron Jones isn't touching the ball enough. He keeps saying it every week, yet not changing it. And Aaron Jones continues to remain on the sideline where A.J. Dillon's in, and A.J. Dillon has been very unimpressive so far this year. And Aaron Jones, I think before this game, I don't know if he is now, but had the most yards per carry, yet 19th in carries. It's like, I get it. The run game wasn't great this game, but you got to at least put the ball in your pretty much best offensive player's hands. You have to give him the ball, whether that's passing, that's running, that's screen game, whatever it may be. 4 touches. That's just not okay for the first half for Aaron Jones. That 100% needs to change. But at the top, for the highest graded player on offense, David Bakhtiari, he played 69 total snaps. Josh Nijman filled in for 4 of them. So Bakhtiari pretty much played almost every single snap and had the highest grade. So really nice to see there. I think he's ready to, be a full-time left tackle going into next week. 86.7 grade, 89.0 pass block, 80.8 run block. Then we see Mercedes Lewis in 84.7, Josiah DeGuara in 82.0. Only 5 snaps, but every single time Josiah DeGuara came on the field, and he's been on the field, and he's made plays. He's made a block. He's caught a ball. I want to see more Josiah DeGuara. Robert Tonyan, also a really nice game. I think he had 10 receptions, which I believe is a franchise record for Packers tight ends. He had a 77.2, so nice to see them finally feed him the ball some. Jordan Love, only 4 snaps. Josh Myers, 64.4. Josh Nijman, only 4 snaps with a 62.5. Jake Hansen filled in for Royce Newman for 5 snaps, then injured his biceps, then was ruled out. Then Royce Newman came back in. I guess they wanted to bench him. I cannot stand this. I do not want to see Royce Newman out there anymore. I don't care if it's Zach Tom going in or, Elton Jenkins sliding in and Josh Nijman coming in at right tackle. But this is the definition of insanity, keeping Royce Newman out there. It's just awful. He had another awful game. It seems like that guy doesn't even know what a stunt is. So it's just awful. Tyler Davis, a 61.1. Alan Lazard, a 60.3. Amari Rodgers, 24 total snaps. Probably the most snaps he's had all year in this game, with Randall Cobb leaving with that ankle injury. 60.1. Also had his first catch this year as well. Aaron Rodgers, a 59.3. The dude has had lower than, sub 60 grades, I think 3 times this year, which I don't think he's ever done, or he maybe has done once in his career, but this dude has not been good so far. Aaron Rodgers does not look like a back-to-back MVP at all. Aaron Jones, 59.2, Randall Cobb, 58.2, Elton Jenkins, a 54.6. He had probably his worst game of the season. Really rough game from him at right tackle. A.J. Dillon, a 48.0. Another bad game by him. Royce Newman, 47.6. That's on par with what we usually see from Royce Newman. Romeo Dobbs, 45.6. Juwan John Winfrey, 43.4. Don't understand why this guy keeps getting snaps. He never impresses me. And John Runyon, 42.8. Usually John Runyon is great. I believe before this week, he was the only guard in the NFL without a single pressure allowed, but that changed yesterday. John Runyon has been great all year except for this game. This was definitely his worst game, and he was likely the worst lineman, but I think it's a tie for first with Elton Jenkins, Royce Newman, and John Runyon for the worst lineman yesterday. But going a little bit more in depth into the blocking, we see Royce Newman, 5 total pressures, 1 sack. John Runyon, 4 pressures, no sacks. Elton Jenkins allowed 3 pressures, no sacks. And David Bakhtiari, 1 pressure and no sacks. That right side of the offensive line, it's just like not working. And I love Elton Jenkins. And yes, he's still 11 months off a torn ACL and getting acclimated to the game. But I believe he needs to be moved to guard, whether that left guard or right guard, and then John Runyon flips or whatnot. But something needs to change. Bring Josh Nijman in at right tackle. As an offensive line, you want to have your 5 best guys out there. And you can't tell me that Royce Newman is better than Josh Nijman as an overall offensive lineman, because he's not. You could even argue Zach Tom's better than Royce Newman, and this dude's a rookie. But you got to have your 5 best guys out there, and Royce Newman is not one of them because A, it's Royce Newman, and B, it's making Elton Jenkins play right tackle, which he has just not been good at. He had a good game last week, but overall, he has just not been good at. Move Elton Jenkins into the spot where he's been an all-pro and leave him there. And then bring in Josh Nijman, bring in Zach Tom. It doesn't matter, but I'm done with the Royce Newman thing. It's a definition of insanity, like I said, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's not working. It needs a change. Then quickly going over the passing depth for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has looked off all year, and of course, to yesterday's game, he had the injured thumb, but it's been like this every single game where he's missing, deep balls. He's missing guys wide open or a flat pass directly into the ground, not setting his feet. He's looked really off all year. And like I said, definitely does not look like a back-to-back MVP. But then you see flashes where he threw that deep left ball to Al Lazard in between the corner and the safety, an absolute dime. It's like, where is this every other play? You know what I mean? And that's where you see the outside left 10 or 20 plus yards, 1 for 2. And the outside right, he was 1 for 4. The other touchdown, the one touchdown to Al Lazard, that back shoulder throw. Nice throw as well. Nice adjustment by Al Lazard. But both deep balls went to Al Lazard. They have to figure out this deep game. And I think now more than ever, the possibility of a signing or a trade for a wide receiver should happen. I mean, Randall Cobb just injured his ankle. Who knows how long he's going to be out, especially if it's a high ankle sprain. Christian Watson likely will be placed on IR. Sammy Watkins is already on IR. This wide receiver room is even more banged up, and already thin wide receiver room, even if they're all healthy. So I think something's got to happen there. Like I said, whether a free agent or a trade. Aaron Rodgers 0 for 2 for 10 plus yards on the middle, 2 for 3 on the right. And then 0 to 10 yards, he did really well here. 3 for 3 on the left, 8 for 8 up the middle, 6 for 10 on the right. And then behind the line of the scrimmage, 5 for 6 between the numbers and 0 for 1 on the right. But that about does it for this week's PFF breakdown. Week 6, that 27-10 loss versus the New York Jets. I didn't expect the Packers to blow out the Jets by any means. I did expect them to win. I think Aaron Rodgers was 15-0 his last 15 games in Lambeau and has had a really good track record in those games, but I definitely did not expect the Jets to pretty much, handily beat the Packers here. Kudos to them. They had a great game plan against the Packers. They definitely look a lot better this year than they did last year. They're building, a lot of young talent, a lot of good talent over there in New York, but the Packers need to figure this out, man. This offense looks putrid. The defense is very inconsistent. The special teams has been good, but was absolutely awful yesterday. I think they had one of the worst PFF grades in the PFF era for that special teams performance yesterday. Something needs to be figured out. I don't know what it is yet, but they got the Washington Commanders coming up next week, and that game actually does worry me. And I know a lot of people would go, normally they'd go, in the preseason, look at that schedule and go, oh, that's an easy win for the Packers. I don't think it is. At this point, I don't think any of these games are going to be easy wins until the Packers get in a groove, figure this out. But right now, they are not. But that about does it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like down below if you did, but I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.